Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Big Freaking Friday Show here on the College Football Mafia Network. I am, of course, the host for tonight, Moen. Let you guys know that in Utah, apparently it's a holiday weekend, and you had some guests coming over, and he could not make it tonight. And Nate felt like his wife wanted to go see a movie, so Nate took off for tonight. The great debate between Nate and Ute will be next week, and I will be the judge in that. But surprise, surprise, I think we traded up. We got Daniel Gygax, we got Becky Go Huskies here. How are you guys doing tonight? Let's start with you, Daniel.
Municipal tap water instead of Mad Dog tonight.
What about you, Becky?
Oh, I've got a cider after having a beach day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get right to it. First off, Ricky Tungate has gifted a membership to the College Football Mafia. Thank you, Ricky. I got something for you, buddy. Here we go. I've been working on the soundboard this week, so whoops.
Gotta turn that up.
I might have to turn the volume up, guys. Let me give you that for you again, Ricky. Little bit of the Indiana fight song. I got some more school-specific sounds on here. I don't have them all on here, but we'll get them eventually. We'll get some more sounds on here. But let's say hello to some people tonight. It's Friday. I hope everybody's relaxing. Conundrum says the Friday night face-off Wild Ute and Bomber brings his dad into Judge Moen's court for adjudication. That will unfortunately be next Friday. Pioneer Day holiday this weekend in Utah. So next weekend we will have the Holy War before the Holy War. Capo says y'all got great animation. Hashtag TurboGrafx. Yeah, TurboGrafx 16. I remember that one. Joseph Kurligan,
like 40 years ago.
Yeah, Joseph Kurligan Jr., who is a Notre Dame fan, I believe. I want the SEC and Big Ten to coexist as best friends in the new era of college football. I want new rivalry games played between the two. Notre Dame, you better pick one to join and get with it. I'm with you, Joseph.
I don't think it will happen relatively soon.
Big Lubbock was first, in case anybody was wondering. Friends call me Sean, just listening to tonight, fellas, unless okay, well, that's fine. Thanks for dropping in, Sean. We appreciate that. Mr. Ed Wainer says, howdy, y'all. Good to see you, Mr. Ed. Bob Swanger's in the house. Penn State Nittany Lion. Good to see you, Bob. Mark Bowman, nice to be here at the start for once. Nice to have you here, Mark. Jose says Mafia Georgia Tech drink, Mafia drank. Got a little 7-Up and whiskey here. It's very good. Shonsky says hello, everyone. Good to see you, Shonsky. Hope you're enjoying the holiday weekend in Utah. The transformational event is much closer to happening than people realize. Okay, Movie Time Blues. That's a little cryptic, but okay. Steel Austin, another Utah fan, saying freaking Friday, let's go. Jose said Becky's naked. No, she's not. She had a beach day, guys. Chill out.
I literally threw this on since I'm wearing a tube top, and I was like, I had a beach day. I got back a little later than I wanted, and yeah, I just threw something on. Yeah.
Mona, Bjorn, Borg, Vision. No, it's my Average Joe's outfit from the movie Dodgeball. Closest thing, Hulk Hogan died, so I've got the red and yellow. Closest thing I could come to it for you guys. Stormy Cyclone's here. Stormy Cyclone. Let's see. What do we got here for our friend Stormy? There you go, Stormy, an Iowa State sounder. I don't think there's any stream you're going to find on YouTube that has Iowa State sounders on it. MBM says, ahoy, hoy. Good to see MBM. Almighty Finn says, what up, Moen? Well, I can't resist. You asked, I believe you asked for this, Almighty Finn, so here you go. You and Daniel Gorby. There you go. You guys, you asked for it. You got it. I delivered. Rock and Rant, who is a moderator and host, co-host with me on Mowing After Dark on Sundays. Of course, you can find Rock and Rant other days of the week on his channel, see it, College Football Express with Miami Flow and the General. Have to admit, Big Ten commissions is unlikable as Sankey, but in a totally different way. And Big Ten coaches also were puke. Phillips sucks too. Only your mark is not trash. Okay, well, that's a lot of information to pack in there, but we're going to break it down. We will break it down, Rock and Rant. You might not agree with it. We got two Big Ten people and a West Virginia fan here, so you may not agree with it. Clint Moses says, go Beavs. I don't have any Oregon State sounds, Clint. I'm sorry. I didn't get that far into it.
Just need a chainsaw.
There you go.
That's their sound.
Or a beaver slapping its tail on the water.
No, if you go into research, that's what you'll hear all night, all day. Chainsaw sound. Every first down, every touchdown, every good play.
Okay. Gerald McKinley says coexist, sure, but I don't think they'll get along particularly well. Too different. We kind of talked about that on Sunday, the culture clash between the Big Ten and the SEC. Tony Lawson says, Ozzy and Hulk, a tough week for my childhood. Yeah, if your first name and last name start with the same letter, it might not be a good week for you. We lost Ozzy Osbourne, OO, and we lost Hulk Hogan, HH. And they say they come in threes, so.
We also lost Malcolm Jamal Warner and what's his name? The guy, the jazz musician that was always featured on King of the Hill.
Yeah, and soap opera stars. For some reason, MSN is convinced that I need to know that a 91-year-old soap opera star died.
Well, they know what you watch, Moen.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Mick Stevens says, the frogs rule. I got something for you, Mick Stevens.
All glory to the Hypnotoad.
MVM says Miami to the Big 12 confirmed by Rock and Rant. There you go. Chuck Mangione.
Yeah,
is the gentleman. Yes. Trumpet guy. Has the recent UNC news changed or confirmed your realignment predictions? Not for me. Well, part of it did. But not so much. I kind of already figured North Carolina was heading to the SEC. What do you guys think?
That News Observer article sounded like they were just filling column space. It really was nothing new. It's everything that we've heard for, I don't know, 2 years.
It is, but it's a little bit of confirmation. I mean, we've speculated on it. We've seen the changes taking place at North Carolina. The new people moving in, people moving out. But it seems to be confirmation of a couple things. One, North Carolina is aiming for the SEC. The people in charge are aiming for it. That doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. But it's on the horizon. Let's say it that way. It's on the horizon.
I mean,
Uh,
would anybody be shocked if they went to the SEC? They're in the South. They brag about being in the South. They would be short travel because right now they've got like 3 or 4 schools that are in state. They don't even have to they bus to basically. Everything makes sense. They could keep their longest running. I think they're half of the longest ever rivalry in the South.
yes, the oldest rivalry in the South.
Yeah, they can convince
UVA.
the other half to come along. It all makes sense. On a standpoint, it all makes sense, and it gives ESPN a little bit more market share for Charlotte. It gives them a footprint in North Carolina. It's a decent recruiting bed. It makes sense for the SEC, and it makes sense for UNC. So for me, I'm like, it's like you said, Moan, it's nothing new.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what everybody thought.
And North Carolina, they could sit there and say, hey, they're right in our footprint. They border 3 states.
Yep.
Yeah, the interesting thing, and I talked to Greg about it before that article came out, because Greg had talked to somebody from North Carolina. The most interesting thing is it doesn't mention Virginia. Just there's absolutely no mention of Virginia, but there is mention of Clemson making inroads, developing relationships, and that Clemson may not be the best team for the SEC, but they may be trying to make a play for the Big Ten.
Well, I mean, they land Clemson. They land. Let's say they land Clemson in North Carolina. They basically lock down 2 big markets in Atlanta because of Georgia and Clemson. Clemson's right smack dab in the middle between Charlotte and Atlanta. I think it's a literal midway point if you look on a map. And they would have the entire state of South Carolina. They would lock down the biggest brand in North Carolina, and they would have a foothold on Atlanta. There's only one school that has any inroads, and they probably would be on the outside looking in at both conferences.
Very true. I think Clemson has to compete with the fact that South Carolina already, they're in the SEC. They do a pretty good job of covering the state of South Carolina.
But
Clemson, I think Clemson, hear me out. I think Clemson is going to have the same problem Florida State has. Georgia, Florida, LSU, these schools that recruit the same areas probably will not want those 2 teams in their conference.
Maybe. I don't see the USC board saying no to Clemson joining the SEC. There's no way. Now here's the question: is Clemson a Big Ten school? Is Florida State a Big Ten school? I could sit there and say UNC meets a lot of requirements. UVA does. Georgia Tech does. Miami does. I could sit there and say all of them have their AAU. They got great academics. But are you going to convince those presidents that Clemson is the ad or Florida State is the ad for the Big Ten? Maybe. You're more plugged in than I am, Moen. That's the big question.
Listen,
Complicated.
It's complicated. And Becky's right. It's like a relationship that it's complicated.
It's so complicated.
Because it's not like we don't have a non-AAU school in the Big Ten already. Nebraska lost their AAU status almost 15 years ago, and they have yet to get it back.
I thought they lost it
they lost it right after they joined.
Right after they joined.
Applied, or they were
accepted the invitation.
Yeah. So, but the Big Ten knew that was coming. They knew that was an eventuality.
And we know Florida State is working towards AAU. We know Clemson is working towards AAU. Greg brought up a great point on his show yesterday, I believe, yesterday's show. Clemson does have pretty high standards to get into academically.
Yes.
It's not an easy school to apply and get into, which could lend some academic support to adding a Clemson. But I think a lot of this is going to be the media partners. Who's going to pay for it? And I think the media partners are going to say, hey, let's get brands. Let's, I talked about it last week. I got a video on it coming out. $1 billion quartet, Notre Dame, Florida State, Miami, Clemson. There is no more valuable 4 teams available in expansion realignment right now than those 4 teams. If the Big Ten were to grab those 4 teams, if they were able to secure those 4, they would probably supersede the SEC, or at least match it in terms of brands. The Big Ten suffers from, it's got some brands at the top, some middle brands, some lower brands. The SEC does have more brands at the top. They do. Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Texas A&M. I'm sure I'm missing someone. Tennessee.
Even their like mid-level brands are
decent.
not bad.
Really,
I mean,
they're really good brands.
South Carolina, Ole Miss. I mean, they've been playing some pretty good football lately.
Yeah.
Kentucky was doing pretty good.
Yeah. Everybody's doing fairly well right now. Like, everybody's having a year. I think we can acknowledge every school is having a year. And the schools that don't, you're seeing they're just firing and firing and firing and firing. Schools like Nebraska, Vanderbilt had a year.
Ole Miss goes through coaches like crazy. Arkansas goes through coaches like crazy.
Mississippi State goes through coaches like crazy. Florida's trying not to go through coaches like crazy. Everybody's doing it. I mean, most schools are not doing that. North Carolina, they've got the oldest coach, I think, in the country, or one up.
They do.
It's just like Belichick, who knows how long he'll stay there. If the NFL comes calling next week, he'd be there in a heartbeat. I look at these, and by the way, I did look this up. The admission rate for Clemson is 38%.
Really?
Yeah, it's 61% for South Carolina. Like,
I didn't think it was that high at Clemson.
Yeah,
I thought it was like 50.
Yeah, Clemson feels like a private school more than a public school in a lot of ways. But
have you ever been out to Clemson in that area in where Clemson's at?
I've been to Columbia,
okay,
South Carolina, and I've been to Myrtle Beach, but I've never been like Clemson. I knew somebody from Clemson, but whenever
driving from my brother's house up to my mom's house, we would take 85 to Charlotte on occasion. Yeah. And you just drive through there, and I was telling my kids, they were in the car, it's like, oh yeah, if you go 10 miles that way, there's an 80,000 seat football stadium. They're like, what? It's like, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's like, well, not really. Yeah. I mean, not really.
Penn State is very similar.
South Carolina and North Carolina feel like you feel at times, like, no offense, you feel like you're in West Virginia. Yes. And then immediately you make a turn and you're in like DC.
Yes.
Like, it's that quick from country to city.
My dad lived out in
North woods and stuff.
Out in North Wilkesboro for almost 20 years. And it was it's weird. He would get Charlotte TV stations, those stuff out of Winston-Salem, and it's like tucked back in a corner, not quite all the way into the mountains, but it's a great place. Yeah. And you would end up, you could drive, I think, what was it? I think it's like 10 miles, and you're on the Blue Ridge Parkway from right there in North Wilkesboro.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
have you guys ever been out to Kitty Hawk?
Oh yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah.
Like you get out to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, it's just like town, nothing, and it just feels. It doesn't feel like you're in a place with a lot of people, but there's a ton of people, like a million people, and you don't realize there's a million people around me.
Well, okay, but have you ever done the drive from LA to Las Vegas?
Yes.
Okay, so you're familiar with going through, what is that? On 15, you're on 15, and you go into Victorville. What's out there? Desert. And what's on the other?
It's that once you get past Palm Springs and all that, it's nothing until you get to like Blythe, I think it is.
Well, I'm talking about, but if you go just on the other side of that hill, you've got a couple million people in like San Bernardino in that area. Other side of the hill,
over the top, you're like
nothing. Yeah.
Once you get out of like LA County, San Bernardino County, nothing. It is weird, and that's the same feel.
$10 super chat from Mark Bowman says Clemson could enter the Big Ten if it comes in with Miami. I think they could come in on their own. I honestly don't think Clemson needs Miami. I did a little research this week. Clemson and Oregon, if you did like a blind taste test,
same school, different shape.
They are the same schools. It's true. I mean, Oregon research versus Clemson's research, pretty much the same. Oregon's in the AAU, Clemson's not, but I think that could change. And if we do see that change, again, the AAU does not hold votes every year. They add them when they add them, they remove them when they remove them. But I think if we see in the next 24 months more schools added to the AAU, schools like Clemson and Florida State, I think that speaks volumes to the Big Ten, because the Big Ten does have 17 votes when it comes to AAU status. So, and the ACC has quite a few votes when it comes to AAU status. So they're not going to vote against Clemson becoming AAU. So, but it's interesting. Thank you for the super chat, Mark. I appreciate that. I will go ahead.
I think the big interment to Clemson right now is they don't have that hospital system set up.
Yeah.
Like Oregon does, which Oregon had, and I think it's tied to Oregon State now. Like it's a very weird.
It's
very different in Oregon on
it's
that.
It's actually independent.
They got political. Yeah.
Yeah, the health system is independent from Oregon and Oregon State. It's called the Oregon it's OSHU.
Yeah, because it started with the university and then it got political and then combined it and now it's its own
it's its own entity. So,
But that's how they were able to get their AAU, and they've been able to keep it because it's a political law that was put into place that they can't do that. So.
By the same token, that's why Nebraska lost their AAU. Their school and hospital is in Omaha. It's not in Lincoln. The AAU had let that slide for several years, and then they enforced that rule.
Yeah.
But thank you for the super chat, Mark.
AAU is still We Like You Club because there's tons of schools that are not AAU that have never had hospitals.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. But it starts to play a little bit of a role nowadays for some reason.
Right. If you actually look at what the AAU's criteria is just, great academically. And that's just basically what's great academically. Okay, well, what's great academically? It's subjective. It's ultimately subjective. So there are schools in the AAU who don't have a hospital. But, Florida State has made inroads to the hospital system. Clemson, once they can get that figured out. Miami, we know Miami has the health system there. That's probably one of the reasons that they got AAU was how extensive that health system is. But I mean,
it all depends on the health system. It depends on how much is research, how much is not. Depends on your doctoral programs, what you're doing, how many of them you have. Depends on your your master's programs, how many of them do you have? What are you doing? There's so much to it. Where
Yes.
it just boils down to what schools do is they get a hospital and it just wipes out this criteria, that criteria, that criteria.
Right. It's like even professors, they take into account what kind of professors you actually have teaching at the school when they do AAU status. It's a weird thing.
I mean, it's membership based. It's,
Absolutely.
it's a club. Let's just say it out loud.
Thank you for the super chat, Mark Bowman. I know you're an Oklahoma State guy. I'm going to play a little Oklahoma State.
Can I just say that North Carolina should just join the Big Ten because their basketball team would be near the top of the conference? Like that.
Yeah, no, I think, see here.
If they go to the SEC, they're not worthy.
I think the problem is that Big Ten, as soon as you join the Big Ten in basketball, you're never winning a national championship. You're forever a runner-up. UCLA, that's what UCLA needs to invest in. Get that basketball program.
They have.
Back up to where it used to be.
They have. Now they complain about the travel.
Yeah.
Which the girls' team, their women's team had no issues. Same travel,
Absolutely.
No issues. I don't know what their problem was.
But speaking of the Big Ten and the SEC, Big Ten Media Days was this week. James Franklin referred to the SEC as the other conference. Greg Sankey took that to heart. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but he released a tweet that says TOC, that other conference, kind of poking a little fun at James Franklin for saying that. But at the end of the day, it is that other conference. They have disagreements. The Big Ten wants a automatic qualifier system. They want a scheduling agreement with the SEC. They'd like to do a scheduling agreement with the SEC. And they want the SEC to play nine conference games, just like the Big Ten does. Do you guys think that those issues, are they resolvable?
Yes, and maybe.
Okay.
Now, let me explain. Now, let's say that Sankey, Petiti, they get back in the same room again. They say, okay, this is what we want. This is what we want. This is what we want. I think that things can get hashed out. Now, like I said, Petiti and Sankey might get things hashed out. Will these ADs in the Big Ten that are like, no way, no how, you're playing the ninth game, they might have some sway in all this. They might say, no way, you guys are scheduling Mercer for... There was a tweet that was out there that showed the non-con for all these SEC teams. And you talk about pillow soft. It was ugly.
Yeah, Brett McMurphy, who is no fan of the Big Ten, made a tweet this week where he tried to put that out there, how terrible it is that Indiana scheduled no power teams, et cetera, et cetera. Crunch the numbers. Big Ten, 11 Big Ten teams this season play 10 Power 4 schools. You know how many teams in the SEC play 10 Power 4 schools?
Not many.
Like 4.
3.
3.
Yeah. It's so I mean, again, Cignetti, again, a lot of people did not like what he had to say. Cignetti, the coach at Indiana, said we're following the SEC scheduling, by scheduling all these weak non-conferences. But I think with schools like that, it's hard for them not to. If you're in Indiana, if you're in Illinois, if you're a Purdue, a Northwestern, if you're one of these teams that aren't brands, because we know brands are viewed more favorably when it comes to the selection committee, you really can't risk having an early season loss. Indiana got in last year because they were 11-1. If Indiana was 11-2, probably one of those SEC teams knocks them out.
Which they shouldn't have. I mean, Indiana had a great year. I mean, let's say they lose to Michigan. That was last year's national champion. Their only 2 losses would have been to Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, are you kidding me? They should have been in easily.
They should have, but they don't have the brand recognition.
I mean, I'll just say it. Like, they brought up the fact that there's 4 Big Ten schools without a 10th game on the schedule against a Power 4 opponent. And Indiana, of course, Signetti, if you guys, nobody heard this. Signetti made the comment and was like, hey, it's, we're just doing an SEC schedule. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I say that, like, Washington, for instance, this year doesn't have a quote unquote Power 4 team on the non-con, but that's because they had to, they technically had a game this year with Ohio State. That's now a conference game.
Right.
Also, they need to squeeze in Washington State. So that Washington State's like going to be that game that's like that next level. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of them playing like, say, a Mercer when they don't have another P4. But at the same time, like, what can you do? Like, things change, schedules change, and Washington has games in the future against Tennessee, for instance. Like, they're going out there and scheduling them, but they take time now because
Alabama's got WVU next year. Next year in 27.
Yeah, like
Alabama's always scheduled fairly rough. It's the other teams. There's like
was it Florida? Florida was my favorite example because Florida they were like, oh, we're playing Florida State, Miami in our non-conference. Cool, that's awesome. But they didn't leave the state of Florida. Not many people realize this. They didn't leave the state of Florida for like 30 years for a non-conference game. Non-conference road game, a true non-conference road game. They hadn't left the state of Florida for 30 years, and then they played Utah at Utah. The first time in 30 years they left the confines of the state of Florida for a non-conference true road game. That's an insane thing to even go about. Like, we've seen Alabama at Penn State.
Yep.
We've seen LSU at Washington.
Alabama plays Wisconsin this year.
Yeah, they played Wisconsin at Wisconsin last year. Georgia's gone out and played teams like, LSU and Florida State scheduled two games in their states respectively. Their neutral sites at the Superdome, and then at whatever the Gator Bowl or whatever it's called now.
Jacksonville,
not Jacksonville, Orlando.
Oh no, Citrus Bowl in Orlando.
Citrus Bowl. Yeah. So it's like they're doing things, but it's not every school. Like, I think Mississippi's. Oh no, Auburn canceled a game at Washington State a few years ago after almost losing in overtime. They're like, no, literally within a week, they're like, yeah, we're canceling that game. They don't
Auburn lost last year to Berkeley.
Yeah. And Auburn did go to Cal last year, so
lost in Berkeley.
Not all of them are doing that. Not all of them are doing that.
Yeah.
Mark Bowman. Actually, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye. You have me confused with MBM. I apologize, Mark Bowman. I thought you were an Oklahoma State fan. Unfortunately, the only Iowa sounds I got on here so far are Iowa State. Let me get you a different sounder. Let's do one for the Hulkster. Here you go.
And what you gonna do when Hulkamania and the largest arms in the world run wild on you?
Thank you again for the super chat, Mark Bowman. It is much appreciated, sir. If anybody would like to leave a super chat, become a member, or gift a membership, those help the channel immensely. You can do that by clicking the little cash icon at the bottom of the chat window, and we will pull it up here. All super chats get read. I know we've got a lot of comments flying in here. We will try to get to some comments tonight, but I just want to point out that that's kind of my point, is the bigger brands like Ohio State. Ohio State's playing Alabama, Georgia, Texas. These teams go out and schedule big-time non-conference games because they can afford to. If Ohio State loses to Texas this season in the opening game, that loss is not going to be viewed as harshly as, say, Indiana losing to a Virginia early in the season.
Yeah.
The committee is going to hold that against them. And I think I think it's hard for me to lecture schools like Indiana, Illinois. True for the SEC as well. Thank you for sending this over, Daniel. But I mean, Vanderbilt, Charleston Southern, Georgia State, Utah. Okay, I'm not going to hold that against Vanderbilt.
I mean, they lost to Georgia State last year, so they should play Georgia State.
That is true. But Arkansas, Alabama A&M, Arkansas State, Memphis. I'm not going to hold that against Arkansas.
No.
Mississippi State, Southern Miss, Alcorn State, Northern Illinois. I'm not going to hold that against them. A school like LSU, this isn't on here, but LSU also plays Clemson this year.
But they got Louisiana Tech, Southern Louisiana, and Western Kentucky.
They do. They have 3 cupcakes to eat.
But here's the thing: if you look at the Big 10, Big 12, they've got 9 conference games, and then they have a 10th game against a Power 4 opponent. So that right there, they've got 10 games locked up against P4, and now you're looking at Georgia, and they got Austin P, Marshall, Charlotte. I'm sorry, Matt, but I'm talking to my little brother. He watches this on occasion. Marshall's going to get pounded there in Georgia.
I mean, let's just say it out loud. This is what schedules like this are why people go, oh, the SEC is the best conference, because all of a sudden, all of these teams are going to be bowl eligible. Maybe not Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's usually the, eyesore out of all this, the exception to the rule, because they'll probably lose to Georgia State or Utah State, something stupid. But they go 3-0, then they play, out like at a neutral site in like Dallas or something like that, win that game, because it's like, okay, they're evenly matched a year ago or like 3 years ago and made it. Today they're not because of graduation, coaching changes, etc. So they'll probably go 4-0. Now they only got to win 2 conference games, and when your schedule includes Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, you're 6-6 without even doing anything. Now you're going, oh look, 14 out of the 16 SEC schools are bowl eligible, and you're like, oh yeah, but this is why people say this. You should go to the Big Ten, you're like, this would just be the non-conference game, because they're going to have to, every one of these schools, we're going to throw Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Nebraska, Washington, USC, Oregon. They're all going to get thrown onto their schedule. That becomes your game. And it's like, yeah, a year ago, may not have been even. This year, it might be, completely topsy-turvy. But my only issue with all of this, guys, out of all of this, I don't care that they're playing the schedule. You know what my issue is? Don't play those teams the second to last week of the season.
Yes.
That's the issue. Oh, yeah, look, Auburn's going to play Mercer, and then the following week have the Iron Bowl. Just give yourself a bye, guys. Just take the bye. Nobody'd even say anything.
Alabama last year had Furman, then lost to Oklahoma the following week.
Like if an NCAA basketball team who was a potential 1 seed did that, like, oh, you know what, we're gonna play like a D2 school like right before we start our tournament play, they'd actually penalize them for it. They'd be like, no, you're not a 1 seed now. You're gonna drop to a 2 because that game was just bad. You have to be undefeated essentially, or 1 loss to overcome it. But like, I mean, why play then? Like, and especially like if you're Alabama and you're playing a school back in the day who ran the triple option, I wouldn't want to play that in November. Play that thing in September. But like, if you're playing Marshall, I'm not going to complain if it's Marshall the week before your rivalry. I'm not going to complain if it's a Charlotte or Western Kentucky, etc.
Georgia opens with Marshall.
Yeah,
my
but I'm
brother's
saying,
going
like,
to the game.
I would not complain if that was the game because they're an FBS school.
Yeah,
like, I can't complain. They're even teams. Technically, we know they're not, talent-wise, but they're in the same division of football. Like, but when you play an Austin P
Yeah, but it's, from my point of view, it's difficult for the SEC to lecture Indiana for scheduling 3 cupcakes. And I get it. They've got a Power 4 school scheduled in here somewhere. Congratulations. Should be 9 conference games. We can end this argument really easily. Just enter a scheduling agreement with the Big Ten. And then you can play 9 conference games, a Big Ten opponent every year. And I think that would provide the college football fans some hellacious matchups, moving forward.
Would the Big Ten continue having 9 conference games, or would they?
Well, they have to.
I mean, they have to because of TV, but I'm talking about the next contract. They say, hey, we've got the scheduling agreement with the SEC. We would like to dial back 1 conference game.
I don't see that happening. The inventory, they need the inventory.
Yeah. What's weird is people will be like, well, because we were talking about Indiana dropping Virginia. This is why Indiana would drop a Virginia. This is why. Why play that game when another conference is like, we're only going to play 8 and we'll make the 9th game a random team somewhere around the country. But by the way, we're either going to play it in a neutral site or in our stadium because we don't want to travel to you. And I'll be blunt, you're not playing that game in November in Indiana. Let's just be honest. Georgia's not going to Indiana in the month of November, the week before Thanksgiving, to play them. They don't want to ever do that. They want to play this in September or early October when the weather's still nice. Nobody wants to go to a Minnesota in late November and play a football game. Even the Big Ten schools don't want to go to Minnesota.
Okay, so we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the next topic, and let me get to this super chat first. From Justin R. USF Bulls, speaking of scheduling, if y'all want to face a team that might give you hell for 2 or 3 quarters, we got openings in the 2030s. I guess.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was. Huh?
I mean, if USF wants to travel, because nobody's going to go there.
Yeah,
the big.
It is what it is. Thank you for the super chat, Justin R. I just think it's Ricky Tungate. Here we go. Here's a Hoosier. Moen, didn't Bill Snyder schedule like IU and build up K-State?
Yeah,
we're going to let that man cook.
He did. He scheduled schools like IU for their non-conference to build them up, but he had to. I mean,
let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said, let him cook.
I'm just saying out loud, like, they did that because Kansas State sucked. Can we be frank? Like,
oh yeah.
Name a Kansas State team that was good before Bill Snyder. I'm gonna wait. It's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if they won 8 games before Bill Snyder arrived. Like, that's how bad they were. Like, they were bad. So yeah, you have to schedule. Well, who are you going to schedule? Well, Indiana's never been great. If last season was Indiana's greatest in the history of their program, I would schedule them too. Like, no offense. Like,
thank you for the super chat, Ricky and Justin. We appreciate that.
By the way, people did that with Miami back in the day too.
Oh yeah,
and Florida State. Both schools were really bad at one point in history. Really, really bad.
Before Schnellenberger showed up, WVU and Miami used to play each other. That's whenever they had all those Eastern independent schools. It was a tied record. And then Schellenberger showed up. Then Jimmy Johnson showed up. And that team they figured out that they could get all those recruits from right there in Dade and Broward County, just keep them home. And by God, they beat you.
Yeah. No, and that was the thing. Like, Florida State at one point was really, really bad. It took them a few years. They eventually hired clearly the best coach you could hire. And where'd they find him? West Virginia. Because he was having to coach against those boys down there in Miami, and he was holding his own with them. So
he was from Alabama and wanted to be closer to home. WVU, there's a really good book talking about all the stuff that like history of WVU.
Yeah,
Like
but he
when-
won there. That's
He
the
won at
biggest thing.
WVU. Oh yeah, he was winning conference
won there.
championships left, right, and sideways.
Yeah. Like it takes a good coach. It takes smart scheduling, good coaching. I can't sit here and say as a fan of Washington, like we went 0-12, guys. We scheduled Oklahoma when they had Sam Bradford in them. At the same time, we had scheduled Nebraska. Like we literally scheduled 3 teams. We actually played 12 games against Power 4 opponents. Yeah, it was that bad. Like that, I don't know what they were thinking, but that's what they did. Or 11 games. It was 11 games against Power 4.
Probably thinking of the money. Money probably played a part into it. But
yeah, we went full cupcake for a few years after that, but it worked. It works. I'm telling you, it does work. You just have to do it sometimes.
And now we're going to move on to what will be the most contentious part of this evening's show, the college football playoff. The SEC and Greg Sankey, the SEC coaches and ADs are for the 5-11 system. Tony Petitti has put out there his 4 AQ system. 4 AQs for the Big 10, 4 AQs for the SEC, 2 for the Big 12, 2 for the ACC, 1 for a G6 school, and then the remaining 3 would be at-larges for a 16-team conference. That is part of the reason right there why Indiana does not want to schedule or is scheduling cupcakes. At least in the AQ system, a lot of these schools believe that they can get over an early season loss because they'll have the playing game option. I know a lot of people are not fans of the AQ system. I think it's probably at this point fair, but I think it should be evaluated at a certain point. We should look at data and see if that makes sense. Because especially with the ACC, I mean, if the ACC loses Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia Tech, if they lose enough teams, I think it's probably a good idea not to give them 2 automatic qualifiers in eternity. Likewise for the Big 12. If the Big 12 expands to 20 teams, let's say they pick up a Virginia Tech, they pick up Pitt, they pick up North Carolina State, they pick up some really good teams that just maybe aren't quite the top brands, but still really solid football programs. I don't want to see them stuck with 2 AQs for eternity either. I think it should be evaluated at least on an every 2-year basis. It should be evaluated.
Your Mark has a look in, and I can't remember if it's 27 or 28. That he wants to do a look in for the CFP then, just in case members change or if things do change. So it's being discussed, but who knows how long. We don't know what's going to happen. We can guess. I mean, we just don't know.
I mean, I'll be frank here. I see, like, I don't know what the Big 12 or ACC are thinking. I don't know theirs, but you can almost get a feel from Sankey's comments. 5+11 for the SEC. They fully believe that out of those 11 extra bids, they're going to have 5 or 6. Like, they fully think that they're going to get the bulk of that. Like, okay, we'll get our 4 easy, and then we're going to take another 2 or 3. Like, it feels like that's what he's thinking, right?
If you've got 8 conference games,
the rest the rest will go to the Big 10. So, like, for his thinking, I get it. He's like, 4 is an automatic. Maybe in his world, it dilutes their, their conference title game or whatever. But, he already got his way. It's, 1, 2, 3, 4 through 12 now. Like, there's no, you can qualify, but you're not going to be ranked number 1, or unless you're number 1, you're not going to be ranked number 5 because you were 12. based on who finished where now. So he already got his way on that. And he fully thinks like, and I'll just be blunt. It's arrogance guiding arrogance here. Both conference commissioners are a little arrogant. Both conference commissioners know the pecking order of college athletics. They know where they stand, and it's a measuring contest at this point.
Sure.
And I personally think let's see the data from the 12 teams. Maybe we don't even need to expand. Maybe we don't need to expand at all. Maybe we have the right number of teams.
That was put up. I can't remember who was talking about it. Keeping it at 5-7. I want to say it was at the ACC media days, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
If I'm the Big 12 and the ACC, I want the 2. You're never going to get 2 bids in a 5+11 situation.
Well,
you're asking for an issue in which you go, oh, we've got automatic qualifier and say Boise State, and you turn around and you go, crap, we have a 1-loss Tulane, whose only loss is to number 1 Alabama by 3. Whereas Boise State went undefeated and beat number 4 Penn State. I'm just throwing names out there, but like now you run into that issue where like, oh crap, my 8-4, 9-3, number 2 or number 3 team in my conference has to go up against that. Like we just saw the committee favor a Boise State in that scenario. Like don't want to get in that situation.
Absolutely. And the other situation you got to bring up is Sankey not only wants 5-11, Sankey wants the committee to commit to new structure on how they determine who gets at-large bids. And that structure is obviously biased towards the SEC. So
always has been.
And I get Big 12 fans and ACC fans anger at the Big 10. I just don't understand why it's also not directed at the SEC. You're getting 5-11. Well, guess what? You're getting 5-11, but you're getting 5-11 Sankey approved model on how these things are going to be chosen. You're not getting 5-11 where it's just a fair, non-biased look at it. You're getting 5-11 that is going to be completely biased towards the SEC. And after the SEC, the Big 10's going to eat. And then you might get a Big 12 team in. You might get 2 in some years. The odds of you getting 3 in, it's just, and it's nothing against the Big 12. It's just, I'm telling you, they're going to take the brands into account. They always do.
Where are the 3 biggest brands between the Big 12 and the ACC right now?
BYU.
Well, Miami.
3 biggest brands:
UNC,
Miami, Clemson, Florida State.
Yeah.
That's it.
So once they leave, let's say once they leave Miami, Florida State, Clemson, they find homes. They're in the Power 2. What brand? I mean, Notre Dame would be out there as an independent, assuming they don't join a conference. BYU would be out there. BYU has a lot of money.
We've talked about Notre Dame. They don't have to schedule anybody. They threw Clemson on their schedule because they're probably going to lose USC.
Notre Dame's schedule is fairly tough this year.
This year is the one year where it's actually tough. Last year before, they've had some years where you're like Army, Navy, Marshall.
Yeah.
Like
they lost
East
Marshall, by the way.
Like, yeah. And I mean,
I'm
they lost
reminded of that all the time.
Yeah. They also lost Northern Illinois. So crazy things happen. We know that, but I'm saying, like, as far as on paper goes, some years Notre Dame's schedule, because they're an independent, if they didn't have this agreement with the ACC, that would be a cakewalk schedule most years. I think they have Purdue on the schedule this year. That's a rivalry, by the way.
Yeah,
that is a rivalry. I know people don't understand that one, but it's a rivalry. But I mean, listen, it's just I'm just trying to understand. I get it. You want 5-11, but you're backing Sankey. There are two devils in the room, guys. There's Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti. They're both devils, but you're backing one devil. I think that Brett Yormark and Jim Phillips are trying to do this to just create dissent, drive a wedge in between the Big Ten and the SEC. We know they were talking about a scheduling agreement. We know talking about this new automatic qualifier. Greg Sankey was for this automatic qualifier, by the way, before his coaches unanimously voted against it. So it's tough for people to say Greg Sankey's a good guy. Greg Sankey wanted the automatic qualifier. He was for that system. It was the ADs and coaches of the SEC. According to Brett Bielema, they voted unanimously to not go to 9 conference games, to not have a Big Ten scheduling agreement. And they wanted a 5-11 playoff model with the changes to the college football playoff committee in determining what they were going to, how they're going to choose teams, which we already know is going to favor the SEC.
Yeah,
it's going to favor the SEC.
That's why I said he wants the 5-11 because he knows he's going to have a third of that 16, maybe a quarter. It will at least 25% every year will be SEC.
Well, quarters 4. That I mean, they would get that just with the 4-4-2-2 model.
I mean, the only guarantee is that you have to let the G6 have a spot.
Yes.
Only guarantee that's going to come out of any of this anyway, because they can't leave them out. That would be a monopoly. And they would get sued. They'd probably get crushed.
Yeah,
that's the only one that we can say would be a guarantee.
Again, I'm for a system of 4-4-3-3-2, but they're not going to choose my system because my system requires that Notre Dame take one of the ACC slots.
I think the 4-4-2-2-1 requires Notre Dame to be in a conference.
But they've got the at-large.
now.
Yeah,
because it should. And
keep an at-large spot for Notre Dame and any system that you have.
Yeah. Like Notre Dame has to finish what? Top 12? That's it? Just 12?
Yeah.
And they're in?
And they're going to receive, and because they're Notre Dame, because they're a brand, they're going to receive a bias from the playoff committee.
They always do.
They always do. The playoff committee is never going to be 100% fair. There are always going to be biases. The biases are going to be towards the brands. An 11-2 or a 10-2 Indiana is not going to be looked on as favorably as a 9-3 South Carolina. They're not, because South Carolina plays in the SEC, and they're going to take that into account, and they're going to put that SEC team in front of that Big Ten team. And the same's true for Big 12 teams. If you're a 3-loss Big 12 team, any 3-loss SEC team's getting in ahead of you.
Yeah. It's going to be, especially if they have a Notre Dame, Clemson, Miami, and Florida State on their schedule. They're going to get favored because they have those 4 teams. Regardless if they go 1-3, they're going to get favored for having those teams on their schedule. I mean, Indiana, I think part of the reason why Indiana got in was because they had Ohio State on their schedule. That's it. Because the rest of the schedule was terrible. But they had Ohio State and Michigan. Should clarify that. They had both of them on the schedule.
I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. Both conferences suck. The arrogance of both commissioners is ridiculous, and I don't really care what anyone says, and I can't stand the ACC either. Rock and Rant is very nihilistic.
I said it's a measuring contest. I said it's a measuring contest.
But let's be honest. I mean, Miami had an arrogance about it too at one point. I mean,
they still do.
It's different. Listen, I would feel with you if it was unearned arrogance. The Big Ten can say they're arrogant. The Big Ten has won the last 2 national championships in football. We can make the argument about Michigan all we want, but what's done
they
is
went
done.
10 years not.
They've won the national title in the last 2 years, and 3 of the 4 participants are in the Big Ten.
Yes. Since NIL came about, there has been a shift in the power structure of college football. And it's not just the power teams in the Big Ten anymore. Now that everybody can openly spend money, you're seeing the talent level get distributed a lot more evenly, especially along the offensive lines. The SEC used to just be able to go and get every great offensive lineman. Can't do that anymore. Every team's got one good OL, one good,
Everyone's getting 4-star D tackles and guards.
Right.
And there's only a handful of 5-star tackles, but everybody can find, you can get a former 5-star to transfer now to your school. Oh, now I've got him. You didn't, I'll develop him the rest of the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. The Big Ten's arrogant, but the Big Ten's won the last 2 national championships. When the SEC was winning all those national championships, were they not arrogant? They were. But they absolutely deserved to be arrogant. They were winning tons of national championships. Most of them were coming through Alabama and Nick Saban, but, LSU had a year they got one. Auburn had a year they got one.
Let's be frank here.
There was a 5-year stretch. There was a 5-year stretch where the state of Alabama won the championship.
Yeah.
Between Auburn and Bama.
Auburn and Bama. Yeah. And I mean, it's like it was Auburn, Bama, and Clemson for 7 years.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Like, it's an insane thing, but like Clemson's the outlier. But like,
and throwing in LSU a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, Georgia. If you recall, the in the early days of the BCS, the SEC won the first BCS national title, Tennessee over, I think it was Florida State.
Yes.
And then they didn't play in another one for like until 2003. And that took a little bit of controversy because somehow LSU got popped over, USC, who was number 1 in both polls, and like Oklahoma managed to jump both of them, but LSU got in there and beat them. But that was it. That was their only 2 national titles in that span. In the next 2 years, what the best team in the country was in Los Angeles, and then the year after that, Austin, Texas.
Yep.
And then since then, the SEC took off. Why? Because the SEC figured out the scheduling. They mastered the scheduling. They got it right. They figured it out. And that why change if it worked for almost 20 years? Why change, right, guys? Like, to be frank, it's always worked. It's going to continue to work. They figured it out. I give them props for it. They were the first ones to figure it out.
They did, and they dominated. And I listen, it's hard to, I know it's not good to appreciate arrogant people, but it's hard when it's arrogance that's earned. Which the SEC earned it during that streak. The Big Ten has earned their arrogance now. Last year, the Big Ten had 2 teams in the Final Four. They did, and neither one of them were the conference champion. You had a conference championship runner-up, and you had the number 4 team in the conference make it to the Final Four. You had, of course, the number 4 team, Ohio State, made it to the national championship and won. Penn State probably should have won if they had a receiver. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to say. I get it. They're arrogant. 100% agree with you on that. They're arrogant. I'm not going to disagree, Rock, but it's earned arrogance. It's not like it's arrogance, like Michigan arrogance. Michigan has such arrogance for a squad that has won 2 national championships since 1940. But to hear Michigan people tell it, it's the greatest, thing ever, and you're never going to find a school better than Michigan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's unearned arrogance. You're going back 100 years to when you won 16 titles to proclaim how great you are as a program. Alabama, on the other hand, has recent titles that they can claim. They deserve to be arrogant. But I get the arrogance part, Rock, but I think once Miami joins the Power 2, I think you'll find you'll fit right in on that arrogance. Justin R says, what about 3 bids for all Power 4 leagues? Put 2 spots aside where the 4th place SEC and Big Ten teams play each other, and the fourth place ACC and Big 12 teams play each other. Also, University of Central Florida sucks. So
I can't agree with the UCF stuff. I don't know them that well. I will say they got pretty arrogant after going undefeated one time in their history. Like Justin, that's a great idea, but you're assuming that the two big conferences want to say that the other two are peers.
Yeah, I would just say
that's
this.
where the arrogance comes in.
UCF, Scott Frost is a coach, so they do suck. I'm saying it. I'll say it, and I'll give you the sounder, Justin. Yeah. Absolutely. UCF sucks. Thank you for the super chat, Justin Art. Is much appreciated, sir. So what can we do? What can we do, guys? The mega powers. Are they going to collide? Are they going to coexist? How do we fix this? Is it going to kill college football? I've seen that a lot this week. The Big Ten is trying to kill college football. I think college football is dead compared, depending on what your vision or idea of college football is.
It's not. It's as long as teams are still playing, it's still college football. Do you think I care what a linebacker is making at WVU or that offensive lineman? I don't care. I just want to watch the game.
I would say this. Look, there's been changes to college football since the history of college football. The forward pass was going to kill the game.
Yes.
Integration was going to kill the game. Conference championships were going to kill the game. The BCS
going to the Iron Man system. Going to the Iron Man system, 1950 was going to kill the game.
Yeah. The bowl championship series was going to kill the game. 4-team playoff was going to kill the game.
Playing more than 8 games is going to kill the game.
Yes. Oh yeah, playing more than 8 conference games will kill the game. But I mean, that's the thing. I think this has been way overblown. And I'm a Big Ten guy. I'm not going to deny it. Big Ten guy, Big Ten fan my whole life. I think it's a little overboard. The Big Ten is killing college football. If you get 5-11, I don't think that you're going to get your 2 bids. I don't think you're going to see 2 Big 12 teams in there. I don't think you're going to see 2 ACC teams in there. I really don't. You're going to see a lot more SEC and Big Ten teams in there. That's just my opinion.
I'm trying to remember who wrote it. I want to say it was Jeff Fuller had a thing up there, and he brought up Sankey and Petiti. He said Sankey was Darth Vader. He was the one out there, the face of everything, and Petiti was Palpatine, the guy in the background. I don't see it that way. That's so drastic. And let me
that's very drastic.
Yeah, because the thing is, even though your 2 big conferences with the SEC and Big Ten, they have to have other conferences survive just so that there's still that level of competition out there that they can go out and play. Like Alabama's playing WVU. That's a home and home in 26 and 27. Alabama, the SEC cannot completely kill off the Big 12 because now that WVU game will never happen as a home and home. It would be WVU hauling down to Tuscaloosa or wherever. You have to have those other conferences in good shape.
No, you do. You got to have good shape conferences. You got to have conferences that aren't cannibalizing each other. I love the Big 12. They're going to cannibalize each other this year, guys. This is a weird year.
It happens all the time. It happened
last year. The Pac-12 did it. The Pac-12 did it for years.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's why, that's why when you go, I'm going to get a 5+11. You know what'll change the narrative of this? If the Big Ten gets 4 again, and a 9-3 Alabama sitting on the outside looking in, even though that their schedule was better than say 11-1 Indiana.
Their schedule
They'll
this
start
year
to
is
hear-
pretty tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I know. I'm just saying, like, that's what it'll look like. You get a situation like that where the SEC's on the outside looking in, and they got left behind by a school they feel their 9-3 team could quote unquote beat again. You'll start to hear them go, no, we're going to have to switch, because you might hear a little bit of panic start to occur. And if they don't panic this year, it happens next year, you'll actually know the panic's occurring. That's what it'll take to switch this. But Petitti's on an island here. Nobody's on his side, right? Nobody's on his side outside of, not even Notre Dame's on his side. And they would get a bid because they're Notre Dame.
Right. But yeah. The thing is, I mean,
I don't understand why they're mad about it. Like, he's not.
Everybody wants to get to 16.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get to 16. It's just a matter of how we get there. You brought up a great point, Becky, cannibalization within a conference. Conferences cannibalize each other. Having an automatic qualifier for the Big Ten and the SEC, getting the play-in game that they can schedule a play-in game between 3 and 6 and 4 and 5, that helps reduce some of the fear of cannibalization. It does, because you're still going to have an opportunity.
Yeah. There was and I'm going to have to look it up somewhere. It was probably about a month ago that they were showing the number of bids that the Big Ten, SEC, and everybody else would have if the SEC went to 9 conference games. And that number was like, with the 8 games, it would be like 4.8. With 9 games, it would knock it down to like 4.2. So there is a big cannibalization rate if the SEC goes to 9. Not everybody's going to schedule Vanderbilt. Vandy did beat Bama. Not everybody can schedule Mississippi State. Uh-oh.
True, but you also have the idea of a playing game. Now, the playing game, you might lose the playing game. Let's say you're number 3 in the SEC. You lose your playing game to number 6. You still may get a shot at the college football playoff as the loser of that game. I think
if you're a 1 seed in a conference, you're going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
You should get an at-large anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. But
look at the basketball. Look at the basketball tournaments, the conference tournaments for basketball. I remember forever the Big Ten didn't have one. The Pac-12, or at the time it was Pac-10, did not have conference championship games or conference championship tournaments forever. And the reason why is because they did not want to knock out their number 1 seeding that they had in the conference.
Yeah, and that was done because UCLA at the time won a whole. It was UCLA or bust. Yeah, the Wooden rule. Yeah, it was John Wooden putting his foot down, and it took like another 8-9 years, after their national title for them to even change that.
What year did the Pac? I know it was 90 something, 96.
95 was 97 was Arizona won the national title.
Yeah,
that was the last national title of the Pac-12 teams.
Yeah, then you had Hamrick win the national title with UCLA.
Yeah,
outside of
UCLA. Yeah, let me just say, I think outside of UCLA's national titles, I think you have to go back to 1939 for Oregon to find another school with a national title in basketball. I think maybe Cal. I have no idea. I'd have to look. But
Cal won in 1940. Cal won in 1959 against WVU.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. I was like outside because Oregon won the very first ever NCAA title.
Yes.
Before that, it was all the invitational tournament.
NIT. WVU won the NIT to get their national title. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, but you'd have to take away, if you took away all of UCLA's national titles, Pac-12 won like 3. It's like not a good number.
Stormy Cyclone says all Power 4 teams should play the same number of conference games, whether it be 8 or 9. Then the playing field levels somewhat. Then the CFP conversations become real. Again, the Big Ten has said they would go to 5-11. They would accept the 5-11 package if the SEC goes to 9 conference games. The question is, if the SEC goes to 9 conference games, would they want a 5-11 package or would they want the automatic qualifier? I think that they would switch really quick to wanting the automatic qualifier if there were 9 SEC conference games, especially if there's a Big Ten scheduling agreement in there as well. But I agree with you, Stormy. I think everybody should play the same amount of conference games, whether it's the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, SEC. Everybody play the same amount of conference games. If we want to make it mandated where you have to play one out-of-conference Power 4 game, I wouldn't have an issue with that either. But, at least get to 9 conference games. And I know people are saying that the SEC is just a deeper conference. It's a tougher conference. I think that's less true now than it was before NIL. I think with NIL, it's been the great leveler. Of course, we still have no idea whether there is a cap on NIL or not.
I don't. I'll be honest with you guys. After the executive order yesterday or whatever, I have no idea what any of the NIL rules
I don't
are.
know. Yeah,
Like,
I don't know what the rules are.
I don't know what they are.
Yeah, it's
There was a tweet that was making the rounds. It's like, what do I follow? State law, federal law, the House settlement, the
Executive
order.
NCAA. What do you do? You're just like, okay, bleep it. We're paying open checkbooks, guys.
I'm just like, there's no way around this. I
Yeah.
literally am. I am not smart enough to figure out the way around any of this, other than, you know what? Nothing's changed. Let's just keep doing it. Just submit to that like third party group and just call it a day. That's the only thing I know schools are doing. Nothing else has changed. The Bagman still exists.
Our Gross says when the Big Ten is 5-1 against the SEC, they aren't a deeper conference. That's true. Big Ten went 5-1 against the SEC last year, and the one loss, it was Iowa versus Missouri, and Iowa was still in that game till the very end. But yeah, I mean, look, the SEC was arguing that Indiana didn't belong in, and South Carolina and Alabama should have been considered. Alabama lost to Michigan.
Yeah.
And Michigan was missing most of their starters. Alabama had their starting quarterback
and
still.
I'll be blunt. I said it all year on the Big Ten Mafia show. I wouldn't trust a Michigan quarterback to throw a football like a foot, like to spike it. Like they didn't even have a good quarterback, and they still managed to win that game.
Yeah, and they managed to win the game in Illinois.
By the way, that quarterback for Alabama, Jalen Milrose, a Seahawk. So here in Seattle, he has actually been pretty impressive in camp so far, even though it's like day 3 or 4. he missed through a ball and gave himself 20 push-ups. That's what he did.
MBM says the national champions lost to Michigan too. That's true, MBM, but they are national champions. Difference being that the Will Johnson was still playing when they played Ohio State. They had a lot of their starters, their defensive starters, were still playing when they played Ohio State. Those starters actually did not play in the bowl game in preparation for the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Moen, what's the name of the football facility there in Michigan?
Oh, it's named after
Named
Fielding
after
Yost is, I think, part of it. There's a field Schembechler.
Schembechler is the coach.
How many
Schembechler
national
Hall.
championships did Bo Schembechler win?
0.
No.
And he's pretty hated up there for firing Ernie Harwell from the Tigers.
No. We won't get into the evils of
No.
Bo Schembechler tonight.
No.
But yeah, I say, listen, national champ. Ohio State lost to Michigan. I got to eat that. I ate that loss. I'll tell you what. You can go back and look in the archives after that loss, how it was for me. I was not a happy guy.
I'll say this too. Like when it comes to like the playoff system, if we see another school like in Ohio State who didn't win their conference, just boat race all the way to the national title again, I think at that point, and when I say boat race, like, blew out their opponent at home, blew out, in the Rose Bowl, blew out Oregon essentially, and then went, beat Texas and all that. Like if we see a run like that again, I think we'll start to hear the whispers of we need to make sure that teams don't have a month off. They're going to start to go, we need to get bigger and bigger.
Well,
bigger.
how many 1 seeds get bounced in professional sports?
No, I agree, but
in the NFL,
none of those 1 seeds.
NBA.
And,
oh yeah,
and I'm not an
get
Oregon
bounced all
fan.
the time.
Yeah, but I'm not an Oregon fan. But not a single team who had a month off won. But those teams always have
Texas.
2 weeks off.
No, Texas.
Texas did not get a month off.
No,
Texas didn't win. Georgia had it off. Georgia got beat. Georgia
Yeah,
got beat
but
to
listen,
a Notre Dame team that hadn't won in January since the 80s.
1988. No,
Yeah.
January 2nd, 1989. Don't ask why I have that stuck
No,
in my
but
head.
that that's the kind of data we need to know. Like, is giving them a month off, like, even giving them a week off, that's fine. Like in the NFL, they're like, that's on you. One, they have to travel to you. You're not going anywhere. And two, like, if you do what was it, the Giants did and went and had the boat party,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's on you.
Yeah.
Well, and listen, I hate this argument that Oregon, to me, it comes off as an excuse. Oh, if we didn't have 30 days off, we'd be more prepared. No,
And he did mention it though.
he did mention it, and I don't like it when that gets mentioned. I think that's just an excuse. Ohio State outplayed. I mean, Oregon wasn't ready for Ohio State that day.
They could do it,
or at least that Ohio State team that showed up. They weren't ready for it.
They could do it. Well, you could do it the week after they do the selection, but you would have those teams on a bye, so they would get 2 weeks off, and everybody else would get 1.
Well, we need to move the season up altogether anyway.
Oh
so
yeah,
week 0 needs to become week 1.
Yeah.
There needs to be no week 0.
But
everybody should be playing like a standardized week 1 to whatever, like 16 weeks, 14 week schedule, whatever it is. You get your 2 buys, and everybody ends the same weekend. The conference title games are the same weekend. But like, put yourself in the shoes of like an Army, Navy. Let's say one of those 2 schools, they're not going to get the month off. Like if one of them got a bye all the way for that 30 days, they'd have a game in between, because their game is played after the season ends. Like they would not have a month off.
Yeah. And that's a thing that also has to be looked at. I mean,
yeah,
I get tradition and all that stuff, but Ohio State played Michigan before Thanksgiving for 89 some years, and we play them after Thanksgiving now.
Army Navy used to open the season for probably 90 years, and then it was somewhere.
CBS got money eyeballs.
Yeah, then like somewhere in the mid 90s is whenever it moved to the date that it's at now.
And I'm like, I don't know why they did that. Like, is it because you want to get like a president-elect to show up?
No. It was 100%. They got a big check.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
I mean, you got to think of it this way: Annapolis and West Point, their whole entire budget for athletics is paid from that one game.
Yeah.
If you want to see a good FOIA, go through and do the request for all the expenses for Army Navy. Somebody did that about 10 years ago. It was outrageous, nuts.
I mean, if anybody wants to do the freedom of information and get a hold of that stuff, like I'd just be very curious, like theirs versus Air Force.
It was. Let's put it this way:
that's not a nationally televised game.
9,600 travel vouchers were part of that FOIA request.
Yeah,
They
listen.
have the biggest budgets in all of college athletics, honestly speaking.
Yeah,
that's true.
if you don't want long layoffs, we've got to address the,
I just am like, if you're not going to do the FCS thing where you have 24, which would settle that whole month of debate, like it gets rid of it. But I understand why they don't. Like, it's a lot of games. You want to. The bowl season is a tradition. You don't want to lose that money. You don't want 4 and 8 teams playing in a bowl game against, a random 9 and 3 school. You don't want it. Nobody wants to watch that. But, part of it, bowl season is dying anyway. But I don't think anybody wants to be the death of the bowl season. And that's why we're never going to go to 24. That's my personal thought on that. But
I don't disagree with you. I just think the scheduling has to be figured out.
no, it has to.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it's all over the place.
Still get pretty decent ratings, even like like Birmingham Bowl still gets like 2 million. I mean,
Right, but let's move the season up to mid-August, and then you never have to worry about going head-to-head with the NFL.
I think that's
Because that's the biggest issue. That's the big issue with these playoff games.
Yeah,
The
they go
NFL's
head-to-head
playing on
with the
Saturdays
NFL.
now in those weeks.
Yeah, and
They're
those
playing
games
Saturday.
got decimated in the.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the exact reason ESPN subleased those games to TNT was because they knew they were
It's
going up
gonna
against
get crushed.
NFL, and they weren't going to get great ratings.
And to be honest, ESPN's trying to get a Super Bowl. They are trying to get a Super Bowl to air. So they're not going to put anything that could jeopardize that little negotiation that they're having. Like ESPN's like, we threw college football against this. Like
I
they got
will
destroyed in the ratings.
I will drink another bottle of Mad Dog 2020 Blue Raspberry if an NFL Super Bowl is on cable only ESPN.
I think it'll end up being on ABC is what they
It'll
want.
be ABC.
It
yes,
is.
but
It
not
is
cable
like I
only
do believe that
ESPN.
they have. I do believe in this new contract that they did get a Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, but it'll be on
It'll be on.
ABC.
It'll be on
just-
ABC.
It won't
But
be
they'll
cable
air it.
only.
It'll probably simulcast.
Yeah, they'll have like McAfee and those guys there.
But that's
Or,
all part of their. That's all
yeah.
part of their plan. They don't want to
Or,
jeopardize their big money maker,
Yeah.
which pays for all of this.
The Manning brothers.
Yeah, they want.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, the college football playoff has to avoid that. We need to adjust the schedule in order to avoid that. We shouldn't be going up against NFL games. It's the
Yes.
college football playoff. It is the
It should be a
penultimate of
standalone on its own.
it's the penultimate of college football, and you're putting it up against NFL games. Absolutely does not need to happen. We can figure out a schedule to avoid that.
And I'll be frank, like they have a month off or whatever. If you give them 2 weeks off, throw that game on a Wednesday. Like you're not going to compete against. You won't. You'll have the whole night, one game on a Wednesday, standalone. You're not competing against the NFL. Then you have Friday a standalone, and then you have Saturday morning when the NFL
No, you could-
hopefully. Then you
you
have to
could
go
do
around them.
You could
Do
do
a
it on
Saturday
Thursday
night.
night. You
Yeah.
can go against the NFL game on Thursday night
could
because
crush
it's on
them on a
Amazon
Thursday night.
Prime.
Yeah, you'll
and,
crush
you
them on
know,
a Thursday night.
You know,
Have you seen those numbers that Amazon gets for that game? They're
No,
solid. They're really
They get
good.
great numbers.
they get some good numbers for it, but I still
I
think
just think you'd crush them if you're.
you'd
on.
be better off than you would against the broadcast game.
And you're
Yeah,
on
that's
ABC. You're not on put it on ABC. Don't put that thing on ESPN. Throw it on ABC and go, here we go.
You want to change the non-college football playoff bowls, draw matchups at random like bingo numbers, make it where you get the football, men's basketball, and women's basketball games at the bowl.
That'll work.
That'll work.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Let's see what Joe Namath thinks.
I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
That was Susie. No, I was trying to remember who was Susie Colbert.
I
That's
can't
Super
remember
Bowl
her
quote?
name.
No,
Sure.
no. It was a Monday night football game there in New Jersey, and Namath.
He wanted to
was
kiss
wild.
her. The short girl
Oh, yeah,
used to
yeah,
do
yeah.
it college
That's
football
when he was
sideline.
hammered drunk, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
'Cause I remember the coin flip during the Super Bowl where he was hammered drunk too, and flipped it before they said he could.
Yeah. No, that's a classic Monday Night Football clip.
Yeah, didn't he get sued for that?
I don't know that he got sued for that, but I know he lost his job with the Jets for that.
Yes.
Schedule can be moved up so national championship game ends every year on New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl. I am absolutely fine with
all
that.
for that.
I'm 100% for that. I don't think college football should stretch into February. I think there has to be a scheduling agreement that everybody can come to.
Yeah.
Even if we can't agree on the amount of conference games.
Which the Rose Bowl's getting an upgrade. They're getting a facelift. It's not going to be 100,000 seats anymore, but it's going to be modernized. Let's put the game there. It's on grass, perfect weather.
All right, listen, you're not going to get any argument from me.
Perfect.
Becky, how many years have they said that they're going to rebuild the Rose Bowl?
No, they really are right now. They really are, because they want to do. They're adding those seats like you see in Dallas and.
They are
Los
doing
Angeles
that,
like,
but the LA Coliseum, at least USC put some money into it. UCLA really doesn't.
UCLA, it's not UCLA Stadium.
No, it's not.
They're
But
leasing
USC
it.
actually spent money on the LA Coliseum. They don't own it. County does.
USC has a different agreement though. Like USC essentially owns it. The county just kind of like gives it to them.
Yes.
But if they want upgrades, county doesn't pay for it. It's a different. The Coliseum has a weird.
I know.
Weird to like get there. By the way, and people don't even know this. If you've never been to the Coliseum, you were about 4 or 5 blocks from where they film Boys in the Hood. It's rather impressive.
South Central. Yeah.
Yeah. Here in South Central, it gets sketchy quick around there. You don't walk.
Yeah, I'll pass. I'll pass. Mullen,
fun.
what's going to happen to Michigan if Matt Weiss is found guilty? Is this another reason for the AQ model? If Matt Weiss is found guilty, they'll probably name a building after him at Michigan.
Probably.
That's what they do.
Isn't that usually what they do? Yeah.
That's usually what they do with their criminals there. I don't think it'll have it's not have any effect on the AQ model. Again, it's going to be another mark on Jim Harbaugh's legacy, but again, they're still going to name something for him out at Michigan. They, Fielding Yost shouldn't have a building named after him. Bo Schembechler shouldn't have a building named after him. I wonder
if the computer lab has been named after what's his face yet.
Matt Weiss. Yeah.
No.
Connor Stallions.
Yeah, that's it. Nope, that's the movie video visual arts.
That's the visual arts committee. Yeah. Visual arts building. It's brand new. Building it right now.
C. Curtis says CFP on this year's December calendar, beginning December 6th through December 29th. Natty works perfect. No buys.
I wouldn't do it 29th. I would do it on January 1st or 2nd. One of those two.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the Rose Bowl, but you're probably going to get a lot of ACC people and SEC people who are going to be opposed to that. For myself, for Becky, that makes the most sense. We're Big Ten. She's former Pac-10. It's just the granddaddy of them all.
I will say, I think Alabama folks wouldn't have a problem with it either. They've won a lot of Rose Bowls.
Right, but I think for them, they would probably say the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, and if you want to alternate the Sugar Bowl, I wouldn't even have a problem with that. Because the Sugar Bowl,
Peach Bowl.
Or the Peach Bowl. I'd rather the Peach Bowl, to be blunt. It's a better stadium. I've been to both. Actually, I've been to all 3. Of the 3, the Super Bowls, the Superdome is more of a dump, but the Rose Bowl is a dump. I can admit that, but the view is great.
No, here's the question I always ask. The city of Pasadena, and I don't know, Moen, have you been to the Rose Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The neighbors around that area in Pasadena tolerate so much. I don't know how much more they would tolerate if that building is used more than what it is.
I mean, the biggest neighbor that has an issue is the golf course.
Oh yeah, the golf course to the north. Yeah,
because people park on the course and they're constantly having to tow their cars. Yeah, the residential folks, their only issue is people again parking in there, but it's one day a year, and a lot of those people will let you park on their lawn. and they're charging like $25-30 a car.
Yeah, but like I said, but also you got to remember, UCLA has games there too. So
Yeah, the difference though
you're
with
looking
UCLA is they don't do the full 100,000,
no,
Right. People don't show up for UCLA.
and they don't go anyway. They don't go. There's no shade in that state. No offense. There's just nowhere to. There's no shade in that stadium, and when it gets hot, you don't want to be there. Trust me. It's brutal. Just sun beating on you all day.
Shooter, Texas wants Jerry's World in Dallas Fort Worth to host a game.
Make it grass. It'd be fine.
I don't, and we talked about this when we talked about the Big Ten championship game. I don't mind rotating stadiums.
No.
Like we talked about it in the Big Ten. Have the what's the stadium in LA called now? The
SoFi.
LA Coliseum or
SoFi Stadium, and then doing one in Lucas Oil Stadium and
Vegas.
one East Coast. If we add Miami, Florida State, Clemson, something down there.
I'd have no problem having it in Hard Rock.
Yeah, I mean, just something in that region. I think it's. I like the idea of like Super Bowls, like when Cincinnati played San Francisco in Detroit, and it was like the Sub-Zero Bowl where it was in the dome,
but
but
that's
it was
indoors.
yeah, it's in. You'd have to be indoors. You'd have to be indoors to host one in the north, but. I think you're going to have a hard time convincing people to come north in January.
Yeah,
they had one in New Jersey
in January. Well, yeah, I sat there in that Super Bowl in New Jersey, and
and they got lucky. It was the warmest, like the warmest.
It was warm. Like we prepared for like cold. It was like 40 degrees, but it wasn't hot. But it wasn't cold.
It was the warmest that area of New York, New Jersey had in like. Who knows how many years? The whole week was great, and then what was it? 2 years after, big massive snowstorm hits Dallas, and there in Arlington, Texas, there was 6 inches of snow for Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. All this is good stuff, but how are you going to get these guys? They can't even agree on a model. No. They're never going to agree on a schedule structure. Which again, I don't think it's that difficult. You just they have a commissioner coming in.
Right.
This group makes the rules, and you just pick your schedule.
Again, this shouldn't be rocket science, but because people are arrogant and they want their own way, I think you're right. It will be rocket science, and we'll have to fight with it over and over again to just get something simple like getting figured out where you don't play head to head against the NFL in the playoffs. But I think,
I'm a firm believer that the Power Four should all play. Their champions should all play each other in the next season. Second place next. That takes care of all of this. Now you have common opponents. You have games. You have road games. Everybody's going to want 8, and I'll say it out loud. Who wants to play more than 8 road games or like 8 home games? Nobody. Everybody's going to want to play 8 home games.
Wow.
Take away the travel and just call it a day. Like that's where we're heading. It's not going to work, but most schools aren't going to have less than 7 home games every year.
There has to be some room for agreement here. And I think you're right, Becky. I think it's probably not going to happen until the ACC is out of the picture. Once that happens and there's just 3 power conferences, which I think will be the case. I think, talking about Memphis this week, Memphis got passed over by the Big 12 despite offering them $250 million. I put it on Twitter. I think the issue was people said, well, they should have just went to the ACC. I don't think they wanted to be in the ACC. I think that Memphis could see the writing on the wall that the ACC is probably doesn't have the strongest foundation. It's built on shifting sands, whereas the Big 12 is built on pretty solid foundation. I mean, even if Kansas were to leave the Big 12 as a potential Power 2 expansion candidate. I don't think it would necessarily devastate the Big 12 the way Clemson, Florida State, and Miami leaving the ACC would.
No, I think the biggest brand. Let's say two schools leave the Big 12. You make a depending on who those two schools are, because I just saw like Jim Williams tweeted that Utah would be a Big 10 target, and I'm like, no. But let's say something like that happened. Like Utah is not one of the bigger brands. It is a big brand, but it's not going to kill you if you lost Utah and Kansas.
In fact, most Big 12 fans at this point are probably looking to get rid of Utah.
Hoping go to the Big 10,
Yes.
go somewhere, Utah. But like, just to be honest about it, like if it were like, I think if they lost a brand like an Oklahoma State, who is a founding member of the conference, along with the Kansas, I think that would hurt more because they are a founding member, because they did those little things.
Yes,
For the conference
any
over
of
the
the
last
hateful,
30
any
years.
of the
Yeah.
quote unquote hateful eight that leave, I think would hurt.
Yeah.
But it'd be
I think-
survivable. It would hurt,
survive.
but it'd wound you, but you would survive. For the ACC, Clemson, Miami, Florida State leaving, that's a gut shot.
That's a gut shot, and the only way it would be saved is if Notre Dame said we're going to the ACC.
Yeah, and even
Crap.
then, they would have to trim somebody out of that conference.
They would still trim the fat.
Yeah, they would still have to trim the fat. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you're going to get 3 conferences. I think maybe we have to stick with 12-team playoff until then. But yeah,
There's enough brands out there in the G6 now with Washington State, Oregon State, Boise State, Tulane, Memphis, UTSA's an emerging brand. Like, there's enough, like even a USF or UCF, or UCF's now in the big conference, but like they were all like where UCF was. Like, there's a build. Those brands are just on the uptick. So even if they lost a school or two here and there, they could backfill it with a decent school, and still they would lose viewers. They would lose some stuff, but they would still be a good conference, right? Like, am I just like thinking that's out of the realm? Like, even the ACC would still be a fun conference to watch.
I'm going to be blunt about the Big 12 as a Mountaineer. Even does Kansas and does Utah provide that value that the SEC or Big Ten would say, yes, we need them? Now, you got to remember, the SEC is already in the Kansas City market via Mizzou. Utah is not the biggest brand in the state of Utah. That is 35 miles south. I mean,
There's a little bit of an argument with the Utah brands, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The overlap was.
Oh, I'm going to hear it from Wild Ute and Nate.
I know I'm playing
really bad, but
I'm playing
but
devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's a gray area on who's the bigger brand. If you look at certain aspects in certain journals,
yeah,
the one in red is, the one in blue is.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, if the biggest brands in the Big 12 did manage to get taken, it's not going to hurt them in the long run, because there's enough brands out there to backfill and make it work.
You wouldn't have. I would say right now they wouldn't have to backfill.
I don't think they would at all.
No, because you're looking at a lot of football programs that are B2B plus programs. Who is your A program in the Big 12? There isn't. That's the thing.
Everybody's got a blue blood, but
yeah, there's a lot of good who's great, and that's it's difficult to say. And even WVU, yes, they have the most wins of any school that has never won a national championship. Yes, they have the most conference championships of any school not to win a national championship. Does it matter? No, because you could sit there and say they're good, not great. And everybody in the conference it falls into that.
Again, I think if you lose, you could take any 3 teams
Yeah.
out of the Big 12. Big 12 survives. It's a power conference. You
They-
take
they
3
wouldn't-
teams out of the ACC. You take
Okay.
Clemson, Miami, and Florida State, and it's done.
And I'll be honest, I don't think that occurs. I don't think that's a thing unless the Big 12 grabs those 4 from the Pac-12.
From the Pac-12? Or
Yeah, let's say
from
they
the
don't
ACC?
add the 4 from the Pac-12 that they added.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say they don't add them at all, and they're just hanging around as like a 12-team conference,
They're in trouble.
and they lose 2, they're in major trouble.
Yeah.
They couldn't lose their 2 biggest brands. They'd be in big trouble.
Right.
But
and
getting
that's the
getting
thing.
those brands solidified their future, which was
and as far as
smart.
Utah goes, Utah is going to be far below. There's other teams on the West Coast the Big
so
Ten
many.
would grab.
There's so many more.
Stanford, if Stanford would agree to join the academic alliance, Cal, Arizona State.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens with Coach Prime, I know he's
a little honest.
Yeah, if Coach Prime, I know he's having a press conference. Depending on what happens with Coach Prime, Colorado.
That his press conference is all about update on the team and what they're doing and what their plans are, because he doesn't have he brought both of his quarterbacks because he doesn't know who the starter is to the media days. So he's got so many questions. He just felt the need to, I think, have that press conference to answer those questions.
The Big 12 has a foundation. They're not going anywhere.
Solid.
The ACC foundation is shifting sand. You've had 2 schools sue the ACC. The ironclad grant of rights was not so ironclad. Report comes out this week that North Carolina is aiming for the SEC. Clemson is making inroads in developing relationships. So Clemson may have a landing spot in the SEC or the Big Ten.
It's what I had said earlier in the year. Like, Clemson has to find a partner to do any switch. They're finding a partner.
Again, I mean,
They've got a
$1 billion
partner.
quartet: Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, Florida State.
But that
$1 billion
whole entire news article is stuff that we've talked about for the past
It is.
what,
It
2
is.
years?
It is.
It is,
So
and that's why
It's no breaking
kind
news.
of grain of salt. It just kind of verifies what we know.
Yeah, it's column filler. It's basically, hey, what do we have going on right now in Raleigh, North Carolina? Well, not a lot. Hey, let's write this article that we've been sitting on for a while. Go out and talk to a couple people and do it, because nothing is solid. It just says maybe, might, could, should.
Again, it's coming from. I know they released a public article 24 hours prior to that. Inside Carolina reported that 24 hours prior to that, Greg Pfluger and I had a conversation about it. So, I mean, we knew it was going to be released. We knew it was coming. But listen, it's not just those schools. North Carolina, Virginia leave. If you're one of the other schools, let's say you're a Virginia Tech, huge football tradition, enter Sandman. We all know it. The Big 12's out there waiting for you. Do you just stick with the ACC, or do you make that jump and say, I'd rather make sure that my future is secure and be in the Big Ten with teams that rival West Virginia Tech rival, Black Diamond Trophy?
Here's my issue with it. I'll just say this. Here's my issue with it. Like, there's enough backfill out there to replace them. Now, granted, they're the 3 biggest brands, but you're barely, and I say this out loud, you're barely making more than the Big 12, right? You lose those 3, who's to say ESPN doesn't decide to continue to pay that much? Because
again, and it depends on
add something that creates value.
It depends on what school you are, too.
Yeah, and the buyout's worth it.
Yeah, that buyout will not change. So let's say that you've got a VPI, that you've got Louisville, you've got NC State. Hey, guess what? That's still, even if we were talking up to 30, that's 75 million. Yeah, you're going to negotiate that down to probably 40, but is it worth 40 million bucks where maybe you can get a somewhat deal with a revamped ACC that would pay on par what the Big 12 gets? We don't know.
Well, because I mean, the ACC still has good markets.
Yes.
And we clearly know now that they're valuing markets just as much as they're valuing a brand. The Boston market, which doesn't really watch college football, but it's the Boston market. They'll still have a footprint in Virginia. Virginia Tech is, I would argue, Virginia Tech's the bigger brand in Virginia, having lived there.
I agree with that.
2-1. 2-1.
Yeah.
Easily 2-1.
Easily. And I would argue, like, you still have Duke and Wake Forest. Granted, not as big, and NC State, not as big as North Carolina, but North Carolina football is more of an afterthought. It's more of the basketball that they're like Kansas. Their basketball is a little bit bigger probably than football. Still watch it, but like you have all those markets. You're losing Miami. That's a big loss. Let's say you lose Miami, but you now have a footprint in Dallas with SMU, and I just question, like, where could you go to create value outside of like New Orleans, Memphis, San Antonio, and suddenly I think they would start looking west again. I think they'd look to Pullman and Corvallis.
I don't know that they would go that far, but see, listen, this is the ACC. Let's say, we don't know how many teams the ACC is going to lose, but let's say they lose Duke. Let's say the Big Ten goes for the whole enchilada and they lose Duke and Georgia Tech. What do they have left? They have Wake Forest, North Carolina State, which is going to be a Big 12 target, Virginia Tech, Big 12 target,
Boston
Louisville,
College.
Big 12 target. Pitt is probably going to be a Big 12 target.
Syracuse.
Yes. I hear you on Syracuse, but they'd probably take Pitt because of the rivalries. You get the backyard brawl.
Outside of that one game.
But let's
Syracuse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're left with Boston College, Syracuse,
Pitt.
Wake Forest, SMU, Stanford, and Cal. Maybe.
If they're taking Duke and Tech, Stanford and Cal are gone.
They're good. They're probably gone. You're left
They're
with
good.
SMU, Wake Forest, Boston College, Syracuse, maybe Pitt.
What are the chances, if things fall apart, that Syracuse and Berkeley join the Big 12? I'll ask Becky first because she lives up the coast from me.
Stanford and you're talking Palo Alto and Berkeley being in the Big 12.
Yes.
If they have no other option,
if those 6 schools that we talk about all the time, if we go chalk and those 6 schools leave for the Power 2,
I will say this: they will look at Cal 100% would go because Cal has
Nowhere else to
money
go.
issues. They'd have to do it, right? Cal's a public university. They have the money issue. You know this living in Bay Area.
I was going to say less. I was going to say probably. I probably would say it would be 50-50, and Stanford it would probably be about 25%.
Yeah, Stanford would only do it if they had no other option.
They'll make the
that's
phone
no offense
call.
to the Big 12,
Yeah.
but the thing with Stanford is the whole point of them playing athletics is to get students to come to their university. The athletics is just their recruiting tool to fill their, secondary degree programs, whether it's PhDs, medical, law, master's programs, etc. That's what they want. They make it easier for kids to transfer. That's a thing. That's a real thing, by the way. That's a real thing.
Yeah, I know.
So Cal's a public school. Cal has the same kind of academic standards, but Cal has to take the money first. Stanford's rich. Stanford's rich. Stanford could buy the Big 12 and have money left over. So
I don't know what the total number on the endowment is there at Stanford, but somewhere
I did jokingly say that they could buy ESPN. I did say they could buy ESPN and just create their own conference out of the Big 12 and the ACC and have a bunch of money.
Yes.
They could buy the SEC. That's how much money Stanford has. If anybody doesn't know, Stanford could buy the SEC and all their schools.
Stanford
Minus
has money.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
Minus
but-
Vanderbilt.
Minus Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Yeah. My point is, how many teams did the ACC have to lose before it becomes a new Pac-12?
That's the thing is once you get down to let's say it is Wake Forest, and I'll say it's still Duke,
Boston College.
Boston College, Syracuse, Stanford, Cal, SMU. That is the Pac-12. That is a better version of the current Pac-12.
You have an East
that's
Coast G7. You end up having 7 G conferences at that point.
You have G7 conference. Yeah. No,
assuming
they
that the
can't.
Mountain West survives somehow, but I mean, you could backfill. You grab Memphis, USF, Tulane, Rice. There's other schools you can backfill with, but
Yeah, Go Black had a $37.6 billion in Stanford's endowment.
there you go.
I thought it was like 20. I thought it was 28
No,
billion.
I knew it was in
30.
the 30s. I was like, man, is it closer to 40 or is it?
I knew it's a ton.
If
It's
you're
a
a
lot.
Virginia Tech, if you're a North Carolina State, and the Big 12 has private equity and says, we'll pay the exit fee, we'll pay, and you join the Big 12, you're looking at the future of the ACC. I think those schools have to take the Big 12. I don't think you can rely on that ACC losing that much. You lose Clemson, you lose Florida State, you lose Miami, you lose your top 3 brands. You lose North Carolina, you lose Virginia. Again, not top brands, big markets for the SEC, though. They get in there. You mentioned it, North Carolina, Virginia, oldest rivalry in the South. You've lost that in the ACC.
Yeah.
If you're
Once you
one of
start-
these schools, if you're Virginia Tech, you're North Carolina State, you're Pitt,
What,
you're
they lose
Louisville,
Atlanta,
Louisville especially.
I wish we could run the numbers. We need you or Pickles, somebody to run the numbers. Take away the big 3 and what
They-
their
oh,
viewerships are. Do we
you
have
did
that?
You did that
Yeah.
with a like the top 4.
I
he
would
did
love
it
to
with-
see it with the
he
top
did it
4 in the
with-
Big 12
yeah.
and the top 3. Well, the top 3 in the Big 12, top 3 in the ACC. Take away the biggest viewers, like all their games. Just take those away and see what it is. And I know Colorado skews it because Colorado's had 2 ridiculous years and probably have a third. And UNC's, I think, is about to skew.
Right,
big
because of Bill Belichick.
because of Bel-
The-
Yeah.
and
But,
ESPN 24/7 now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, not Moen. You did a video showing if Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and UNC leave the conference, this is the viewers now. This is what it would be before. This is how much money would be the difference in.
Yeah.
Like, this is the media contract now. This is how much it would be diminished. He did it. Oh God, it's about a year ago, I believe. He did that video. I'm trying to remember. Might be in members only.
Yeah, it might be in members only. That's why I'm trying to
It's
think,
like a
'cause I'm
year ago or something like that.
I would love to just see after this season what it looks like.
I think
too.
it was on the Carolina Reaper video.
Oh yeah. It was, and it's like,
Am I right, Moen, or am I? Or
You
am I
might
losing
be
my
right.
Might be
And
right.
by the way, that is no longer a members only video. We did make that
Oh,
one
okay,
public so
okay.
that everybody could see the numbers.
please watch
Uh,
that one. That was
But
very in-depth.
my main point is ACC shifting sands. I don't know that the ACC survives as a power conference. I
They-
don't.
I don't know if you can survive if you're adding they would have to add 6 G6 schools
Minimum.
minimum just to get to. In order to get to 10, they'd have to add 4. This isn't a the Big 10 was, or the Big 12, excuse me, was fine because they had 8 members.
Yeah.
They didn't need to add anybody. They were 8 members who were Power 4 teams. You couldn't argue it. They would have just, if they'd have stayed at 8, not done anything for a couple of years, they didn't have to add a BYU, a Houston, a Cincinnati, or UCF. They didn't have to do that. They did that because they want to make sure they could compete when it comes down to, like we talked about earlier, scheduling matrix and getting bids.
But it solidified their foundation too.
It did.
They got the Florida market. They got BYU, the biggest brand in Utah. They got Houston, a huge market in Texas.
And it
they
made
got
West
Cincinnati.
Virginia happy, who was sitting on an island.
Yeah, and they
for
got a
years.
travel partner in Cincinnati. So
That's still a haul.
it's not that
It's
bad.
better.
It's better, but I mean, it's not that bad.
It's not as
Um,
bad.
I
It's not
know.
as bad as it was.
Yeah, I've done the drive from Morgantown to Cincinnati.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about speed limits going from Morgantown to Cincinnati.
And you just got to worry about deer.
You do on 50 through West Virginia. They'll ticket you to death. But once you get across the river,
Yeah, they
don't
got to catch you first. No, you
It's
got to
only,
catch you
it's,
first.
only, it's
Daniel.
only speeding if you get caught, guys.
That's right. Only speeding if you get caught.
I'm just not big on. I'm not big on UNC going to the SEC. I understand why the guys like. I'm just gonna say this out loud. I'm not big on it because I think they don't match them what they want to do on the school side of life. And I think
I hear you 100%. The academics will not like this. They will not like this. But they have put the people in power. They have positioned people in power.
They definitely have sports people power.
Who prefer the SEC. And we talked about it on Sunday, myself and Rock. It might be a culture thing where North Carolina is, the South, and they want to be with the South. And, same with the University of Virginia. They want to be with the old South. So I completely get that from a culture standpoint. Academics, you're right. Virginia and North Carolina are Big Ten schools academically. There's no
academically, if you step foot on the campus, you would think you were on a Big Ten campus.
Yeah,
especially in out there in Virginia. Like, you guys have never been there. Yeah, if you've ever been to Charlottesville, like, oh my God, like small mountain town.
Yeah. It is a University of Virginia. It's one of those towns where it's just a university provides 80% of the employment and related employment. So I 100% agree with you guys there. Okay, let's cap this show off tonight. I want to thank Becky and Daniel for joining me tonight. Again, you and Nate could not be here tonight. Pioneer Days in Utah. Daniel, you can always find on the channel. He does shorts. Just the Facts with Dan Gygax. Becky, of course, joins myself and Sergeant Pickles on Big Ten Mafia when football season is starting up. All right, guys, let me put it to you this way. Let's do one last question here for the night. Who ends up where? Who ends up in the Big Ten? Who ends up in the SEC? Who ends up backfilling the ACC? Daniel, we'll start with you.
Okay. I believe, and I probably will be 100% wrong, Georgia Tech, Miami to the Big Ten. With the SEC, I'm going to go fairly chalk FSU, Clemson, UNC, UVA, because we've been talking about for a year.
Mm-hmm.
With the Big 12, Louisville, Virginia Tech, NC State, and Syracuse, because I could see your mark, because he wants Connecticut. He couldn't get Connecticut, but if he can get Syracuse, which is in the state of New York, that could probably make him happy on that.
All right, fair enough. Becky, what do you think?
I think it's going to end up being North Carolina, Clemson, Virginia, and Florida State to the the SEC. The Big Ten. The Big Ten is going to land Miami, and I think they're going to end up with Stanford. I think they grab Stanford. I think they stay pat at 20. I think both conferences get to 20, and they're completely done. I think the Big 12 will stay pat. They're going to attempt, but I think they stay pat because I don't know, and I can't say it would even happen, but if there's no reason for any of the other schools in the ACC to do anything, if ESPN cannot cancel that contract until 2036, because they're just going to keep the same amount of money, and they have a new deal in place. They're getting all this money. They have a new deal in place. And if that does happen, they're going to go out and grab a Washington State, a Memphis, a Tulane, and an Oregon State, and they're going to fill it.
And on top of that, that buyout doesn't change.
That buyout does not change. If all that stays the same and the money's there, granted, again, most of those schools are private schools. They do not care. So they'll be just fine with what they get. And if that money doesn't change at all between now and 2036, what are they going to do? I wouldn't do anything until then. And then at that point, maybe the poaching comes because, people get dollar signs.
Okay. I'm going to do this. I say I'm going to give myself two options. And I'll show you in the video when I release it this weekend. First option is a $1 billion quartet. You get Notre Dame, you get Clemson, you take Florida State, take Miami. You get the 4 top brands available from the ACC/independent. You get to 22, you stop. You do not add anybody else. That maximizes your revenue as the Big Ten. The SEC, they just take North Carolina and Virginia, and they stop. They go to 18 teams. They say, we're in North Carolina, Virginia. We've got the South covered. We're not moving. The Big 12, they grab Louisville, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. The ACC is left with having to backfill. My second option is the Big Ten goes big enchilada. They grab Duke, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Miami, Stanford, and Cal, along with Notre Dame. And they basically go to a 24-team super conference. And that's where they're at. It's super academic, super athletics. And, that kind of seals it up for them. But I still think if you can get the $1 billion quartet, if you can pull that off, if you can get the presidents to agree, it's going to be a rough sell for some of these presidents.
Hard sell.
Hard sell on a Florida State and a Clemson. I think Florida State more than Clemson, but
I have no feel on the new Washington president, but he's at Illinois, so we can probably figure it out something there. If anybody from Illinois knows how he might be thinking. But
I think Florida State's the hard sell.
I think Florida State is the hard sell, and I think you have to convince Wisconsin, Michigan, Penn State. You have to convince Washington would have to probably be convinced at that point. We have no idea. You'd have to convince the 4 big research schools that's the right school to do it with.
True, but if you get the $1 billion quartet, if you get Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, Washington,
I think it's
Oregon,
an easier sell.
Yeah, Washington and Oregon become full. Yeah. They're full partners. They don't have to wait till the end of the next media contract. They're 100% full. Which
I'll be honest, I don't think Clemson and Florida State alone will not make them full members.
No, you need Notre Dame. You need Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And I think if you grab Miami, Florida State, and Clemson, I think Notre Dame isn't left with a lot of choices. A lot of options. They can stay independent and
Notre Dame would still have all their games on one network.
Yeah, they could. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up tonight. We've done a little over 2 hours. I want to thank again Becky Go Huskies from the Big Ten Mafia Show. Thank you, Daniel Gygax. Just the Facts with Dan Gygax. Shorts appear here on the channel. Follow them both on Twitter. You can see their Twitter handle is just below their name right there. Go ahead and give them a follow on Twitter. I want to thank the people who donated tonight, including Ricky Tungate, Mark Bowman, Justin R. Thank you guys for your super chats and memberships and everything. Those mean so much to us. They help us keep the channel alive here. For myself, for Becky, for Daniel, I hope everybody has a good weekend. I will see you on Sunday for Mowing After Dark with Rock and Rant. But until then, have a good weekend. Peace out.